Hi, it's Dennis Daly. During the early 1950s, listeners to CBS Radio were treated to nearly 120 episodes of one of the best detective shows of all time. So I'm focusing in on the adventures of Philip Marlowe. And this time around, a comparison of the 1947 series with Van Heflin and the later run We Know Better with Gerald Moore. First, let's go back to the summer of 1948.
For the safety of your smile, use Pepsodent twice a day. See your dentist twice a year. Lever Brothers Company presents the Pepsodent program, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, starring Van Heflin. Philip Marlowe, the screen's most famous private detective, created by Raymond Chandler, brought to you on the air by Pepsodent, and starring MGM's brilliant and dynamic young actor, Van Heflin. Now, The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, starring Van Heflin.
The moment old man Jeter came into my office, I made up my mind not to vote for him if he ever ran for president. He was tall and thin with straight, compressed white lips. He wore a neat pinstripe flannel suit with a small rosebud in the lapel. He carried an ebony cane, and he wore spats. He looked a smart 60, and unless his ulcers got nasty, I gave him another 15 years, which was pretty big of me. He sat down, speared me with those barbed gray eyes, and came right down to business.
Mr. Philip Marlowe, I believe?
That's right.
My name is Wadsworth Jeter.
How do you do, Mr. Jeter?
You're a private detective?
Well, why not?
Frankly, sir, I'd expected the Hollywood detective's office to be somewhat more glamorous, or rather more elegant, shall we say?
No, Philo Vance has a branch office here on the 4th floor. If you're shopping around...
No. You'll do, I'm sure.
Well, my rate is $25 a day, plus expenses.
Money is no object.
Except when you don't have much of it.
That seems to be the motivating philosophy where Miss Harriet Huntress is concerned.
Who or whom is Miss Harriet Huntress?
A rather standard, rather obvious gold digger who wishes to marry Grover.
You want to tell me who Grover is?
Grover is my adopted stepson, my late wife's son.
Go on.
Next year, he will inherit $1 million left him by his mother.
Which explains Miss Huntress's interest in Grover.
Precisely.
Look, Mr. Jeter, am I being hired to smear Miss Harriet Huntress?
Not at all. Merely to disillusion Grover about her.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing. I think you'd better find yourself another boy.
Wait. There's more.
Okay, let's hear it.
Do you know a man named Marty Estelle?
Sure. He's a big-time gambler out on Sunset Strip. Why?
Mr. Estelle claims my son Grover owes him $50,000.
Well, then Grover'd better pay up if I know Marty Estelle.
But suppose my son doesn't really owe Estelle the money.
Does he or doesn't he?
Mr. Estelle supplied photostat copies of Grover's notes with Grover's signatures. I thought they might be forged, so without Grover's knowledge, I took them to a handwriting expert named John Arbogast, a sort of detective.
No?
He's not sure. He wants more time. I'd like you to take over the case.
Harriet Huntress and all.
Miss Huntress, as you may know, is associated with Mr. Estelle.
Well, that's incidental. I'll handle the forgery case and not the slander job. Now, where does this Arbogast have his office?
On Sunset near Ivar.
Okay, I'll look it up. Miss Huntress?
She lives at the El Milano on North Sycamore.
All right, I'll look her up, too. Arbogast and Huntress, in the order named. There was no snooty secretary to prevent me from walking right into John D. Arbogast's extremely fat presence on Sunset near Ivar. He was an enormously fleshy gent with a thick neck that was in folds like a concertina. He wore a wrinkled dark suit that needed cleaning and some reweaving where it had some small holes in it. Arbogast just sat and stared at me with the whites of his eyes, because those 3 holes that needed reweaving were bullet holes. And John D. Arbogast was dead, very recently dead. I left in a hurry, and as far as I could tell, nobody saw me come, nobody saw me go. My next stop was the Swank El Milano Hotel on North Sycamore.
Just a second, mister. Something you want?
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm the house detective.
Well, I'm looking for a Miss Harriet Huntress.
Miss Huntress ain't seeing anyone.
You can tell her it's Marty Estelle.
Are you Marty Estelle?
I'm from him.
That's different, ain't it?
That's none of your business, is it?
Well, whatever you're up to, you're not playing it very smooth.
Well, some days I feel like playing it smooth, and some days I feel like playing it like a waffle iron. Well, if you must know, I'm one of the boys. Philip Marlowe, private eye. Here, it's my card.
Well, that's another story. I'll phone up to Miss Huntress.
Yeah, say I'm from Marty Estelle. Make it convincing, huh?
How much convincing?
Oh, well, how much do those cigars you're smoking cost you?
$22.50. Box of 50.
That much convincing.
Well, that's cute. You and me are going to get along. I'll phone Miss Huntress, but you go right on up. Room 814. I just know it'll be all right.
Harriet Huntress was too tall to be cute, too beautiful to be really cheap. Her green eyes were wide set, and there was plenty of thinking room between them. Her hair was a dusky red, like fire seen through a haze. The green eyes were that much green ice as she sized me up in the doorway.
Well, what's the big message, Sonny?
I'd have to come in. I never could speak very well in public.
Come in.
Never could speak very well on a dry throat either.
There's the scotch. Help yourself.
Thank you.
So, you're from Marty Estelle.
No, not strictly, not even loosely. Not at all, in fact.
What's your racket?
No racket.
Marty will love to know you used his name.
I'm shaking in my shoes.
You're some kind of detective, aren't you?
Yeah, right. Philip Marlowe. It's good to got you.
I'm glad you like it. Now, what's your business?
All right. How much will you take to give up Grover?
You look smart, but you talk stupid.
Old man Jeter's pretty tough. His idea is that you get nothing. You get smeared. I don't see it that way. How much?
How about $50,000?
How about $500?
How about talking about the effect of the rain on the rhubarb?
Now, look, sister. Suppose we skip the footwork, considering the sobering fact that a man named John D. Arbogast has already been murdered in this little case.
Does that have anything to do with me?
I don't know. He was hired to analyze some notes Grover gave Marty Estelle. He was killed just after I took over the case.
Do you think Marty Estelle works that way?
You know him better than I do, does he?
Have you told the police yet?
No, I thought I'd see if I could make a deal with you first.
I'm going to tell you something. My people were nice people who never got involved in murders. Old Jeter ruined my father. My dad shot himself and my mother died of the shock. I'm going to fix Jeter for that someday, even if I have to marry his son to do it.
Adopted stepson, really. There's no relation at all.
It'll hurt Jeter just as hard. And the kid will have $1 million next year. I could do worse, even if he does drink too much.
You wouldn't want Grover to hear that, now, would you?
No? Turn around and have a look, Gumshoe.
I turned fast. He stood about 4 feet from me. Big, blonde, powerful. Whiskey in his brain and blood in his eyes.
I can say anything I want around Grover. It's all right with him. Isn't it, Grover?
That's right, Harry.
He's trying to break us up, Grover. What do you think of that?
I think maybe I better break him up. That's what I think of that.
She laughed, and that made me mad. I turned to growl at her. It was a dirty look. It was the look of the month. That was a mistake. The big guy hit me. I went over sideways. It wasn't a hard punch, but my head hit a desk going down, and the desk got the decision. It gets dark fast in Southern California, but seldom that fast. Grover, the blonde sucker puncher, and Harriet Huntress were gone. But the bottle of scotch was still there, so I took that for a souvenir and stuffed it in my pocket and floated down the elevator into the street. It was dark by the time I got back to my apartment on Hobart Avenue in Hollywood. I turned on the light, and there stood a big guy, another big guy. This was National Big Guy Week. This one had a big nose, the dead color of wax. And he had a .22 caliber Colt Woodsman pointed straight at me.
Close the door and reach. Come on.
I turned a little to close the door. I got my hand under my coat. Then I turned back to Wax-Nose fast. I had my Luger out. We stood there facing each other. Wax-Nose didn't seem at all impressed with my automatic.
I just came to tell you to be smart.
You're looking at a Luger, mister.
I know. Men of distinction carry Lugers. Me, I pack this small bore because I can shoot. If you think you can take me, go to it.
Now, look, what's the game?
Maybe you can take a hint, and maybe you can't.
Maybe or maybe not. What is it?
Lay off old Jeter's boy.
Well, I wouldn't think of contradicting. Anyone who uses a Colt Woodsman 22 with the front sight filed off must think he's pretty good.
I am good.
Yeah. And that's why I say, okay, pal.
We'll see.
Speaking of 22s, do you know anybody named John Arbogast?
I meet such a lot of people.
Well, this one was fat and shot 3 times with a 22.
I don't remember shooting no fat guys today. So long, chum. Remember what I told you. Lay off groping. So long, chum.
Yeah. Swell. Ah, shut up. Yeah.
Mr. Marlowe?
Oh, Mr. Jeter. Well, your son or your adopted son or your stepson or whatever he is poked me in the jaw today.
He is both my stepson and my adopted son.
Well, both of them poked me in the jaw.
My word, where?
In Miss Huntress's apartment.
You spoke to her? What did she say?
She wants $50,000 and no dice. I offered her $500. Just as a gag.
Just as a gag. Mr. Marlowe, perhaps you underestimate the importance of this matter to me.
Listen, Mr. Jeter, there are some very unusual angles to this case. For example, a gunman just stuck me up in my own apartment and told me to stay off of this case.
What?
I don't see why this case should get so tough.
Good heavens. Listen, Mr. Marlowe, my chauffeur, Waldo, will pick you up in my limousine. I want to talk to you.
All right. Well, tell Waldo to park on Hobart facing Franklin.
He'll be around for you in 20 minutes.
Good. Just give me time to drink my dinner. Bye-bye. We swung left for a couple of 100 yards, then left again, aiming for a driveway flanked by 12-foot wrought iron gates. Then something happened. Someone was standing in the glare of our headlights. Waldo swore and slammed on the brake shell.
You stupid! Go and get out of the driveway!
The man stepped toward us. And the next minute, there was that same Colt 22 staring into my face again.
All right, this is a heist. Get out of the car, both of you.
Look, Wax-Nose, haven't you had enough fun for one night?
Buzz off, bum.
Shut up and get out.
I'd have to think some more on that, Buster.
I'm warning you. I'll let you have it.
Don't be a goal, you're going.
All right, you asked for it.
Hey!
Holy. You shot the guy.
Yeah. I shot him. It was this. All in fun.
Yeah, some fun.
It did the work. Jeter's house is right ahead.
You sound as if you just shot a nickel in a pinball machine instead of a man. Now listen, turn off those lights and let's get out of here, but fast.
You are listening to The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, starring Van Heflin. Yes, families all over America have named their favorite toothpaste. New Pepsodent with invigorating Irium foam. New fresh-tasting Pepsodent with a new, cool, minty flavor. In a recent test, New Pepsodent was preferred 3-to-1 over any other toothpaste.
It's true. Families all over America say New Pepsodent is their favorite, 3-to-1.
The William Kilpatrick family, 212 South Missouri, Claremore, Oklahoma, preferred New Pepsodent on every single count. The Kilpatricks say New Pepsodent tastes best of all, makes breath cleaner, makes teeth brighter. On all these counts, by an overwhelming average of 3-to-1, families prefer New Pepsodent over any other toothpaste they tried.
It's a fact. Families 3-to-1 say New Pepsodent tastes better, makes breath cleaner, and makes teeth brighter.
Remember, this is not just our opinion. It's the honest conviction of the Kilpatricks and other families who were asked to compare New Pepsodent with the toothpaste they were using at home. Get New Pepsodent, the only toothpaste containing Irium. Get it for your family without delay. we continue with the adventures of Philip Marlowe, starring Van Heflin, who appears by arrangement with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Producers of The Romance of Rosie Ridge, starring Ben Johnson.
Waldo and I drove back to my apartment again, leaving Waxnose lying dead in the Jeter driveway. We went back to my place to start all over again, over what was left of my purloined scotch.
Yeah, it's a good scotch you've got here, Marlowe.
Inch bottle.
Not this.
Sure, I pinched it from the apartment of Harriet Hunter's.
Well, bottoms up.
Waldo, do you think that gunman was there to scare young Grover into realizing Marty Estelle means business?
Could be. I always drove Grover home around that time.
It just doesn't sound like Marty Estelle picked that sort of a helper.
Well, sure. Maybe that's why he picked him. Because it didn't seem like Marty Estelle.
Yeah, that's good thinking, Waldo.
Dartmouth, 37. Rah, rah, rah.
That would be either the cops or Mr. Jeter. Hello.
Mr. Marlowe?
Yes, Mr. Jeter, and the reason we're not in your study now is lying outside of your front gate.
What's that you're saying?
Somebody jumped us outside of your gate and Waldo shot him dead.
Good Lord.
Now.
Listen, Marlowe, come here at once. Do you hear? At once.
I'll send Waldo, Mr. Jeter.
I want to see you.
Waldo will tell you all about it, Mr. Jeter.
Marlowe.
Good night, Mr. Jeter. After Waldo, the chauffeur, had left, I went back to the El Milano Hotel. Hawkins, the house stick, was all smiles and open palms. I placed no confidence in his smile and a $20 bill in his palm.
Harriet Huntress again? What's the matter?
Just take me up to her apartment, that's all, huh?
Sure. Right this way, fella.
Hawkins took me to the 8th floor, room 814, and opened the door. There was someone in the room, waiting.
Here's company for you, Mr. Estelle.
Beat it, Hawkins.
Yeah, this is the guy I was telling you about, Mr. Estelle. Come in earlier today. Said he was from you.
Beat it, I said.
Oh, sure.
Come on in, Marlowe.
I came to see Miss Huntress, not you, Estelle.
Well, first of all, Harriet's not home. I came to tell her what happened outside of Jeter's gate.
So you keep informed.
I can't wait for her any longer. Gotta get back to the casino. Well, then, what did you come back for, Marlowe?
I'm looking for the Jeter boy. After what happened to him tonight, he needs somebody to walk behind him.
You think I play games like that?
All I know is we were shot at.
I asked you a question.
I answered it to the best of my knowledge.
What knowledge, for example?
Well, for example, you hold $50,000 worth of Grover's notes for gambling debts.
I've got $50,000 invested in the kid. Would I be likely to bump him off?
That makes sense, all right.
I always make sense.
Bully for you.
When I have $50,000 invested in a guy, I'm apt to find out all about him. Like about old Jeter hiring a man named Arbogast to work for him. Arbogast was shot today. You know it. I know because I had you followed. You didn't tell the law, Marlowe. That could be very hard on you.
Well, it could.
Does that make you and me friends?
A little blackmail, huh?
Not much.
We'll call it tattletale grail mail.
From now on, do you stop bothering Miss Huntress?
Hey, you win, Marty.
Swell. That's all. I've got to go.
Well, I'll just wait around for a bit, okay?
Well, Harriet Scotch is in that cabinet there.
Thanks. I'll roll up my pants and go waiting in it.
You know, Marlowe, I like you. You're cute.
So long, Shaman.
Marty Estelle was right. He wouldn't kill anybody who owed him money and was soon to come into a lot of it. Now I was in bed with the police for not reporting Arbogast's murder. Well, I looked around Harriet's apartment vaguely, walked into the bedroom, stopped. Because mixed with a fragrance of good perfume and good cosmetics was the plain, ordinary, homespun odor of gunpowder. I walked across the room and yanked open the closet door and stepped back. There, just as big as life, but as dead as they ever come, was young Grover Jeter. And at Grover's feet, among the graceful shoes in Harriet's closet, was a tiny pearl-handled automatic. I felt bad about that, because I guessed that the dainty holes, the bullets from that dainty gun, would fit the two dainty holes over Grover's heart. I put the neat little pistol in my pocket. I thought old man Jeter ought to know about his son, I thought. expect to find Waldo, the chauffeur, and Harriet Huntress with old Jeter in Jeter's big study, but there they were.
Why, Mr. Marlowe, I'd about given up hoping to see you tonight.
Well, I changed my mind about coming out again, Mr. Jeter. Oh, Waldo?
Why, Marlowe?
Didn't expect to see you here, Miss Huntress.
Didn't you?
Did you expect to see me here?
Never mind that, Marlowe. I want to know where my son is.
What do you mean, Mr. Jeter?
He's missing. That's what I mean.
Oh.
He's missing, and no one knows where he is.
I know.
Eh?
What's that?
Well, Marlowe.
Miss Huntress, where did you and Grover go after Grover took that sucker punch at me in your apartment?
We went out together in a taxi. During the ride, I had a change of heart. I didn't want Grover or Grover's money. I told Grover to find another playmate, and I got out in Beverly Hills. Grover went on in the taxi.
And where did you go?
Back to my apartment. Later, I got out my car to come down here and tell Mr. Jeter I decided to forget the whole thing. And for him to call off his dime novel, Sleuth.
A dime will no longer buy a novel of any description, but that is beside the point.
You said you knew where Grover is. That's not beside the point, is it, Mr. Marlowe?
He's back in Harriet's apartment.
Well, I didn't let him in. How on earth could he?
Hawkins, your house detective, let him in. The last I saw of Grover, he was dead.
Oh, what? What's that?
Dead. Dead, shot with a small caliber gun.
I can't believe it. I can't. It's...
Grover's dead?
Miss Huntress, this .25 caliber pistol was on the floor at Grover's feet. Here, take it. Look it over, will you?
It's mine.
You murderess.
I'm not.
You cold-blooded murderer.
Oh, stop that!
Stop it, both of you. It could have been suicide.
Suicide? Well, yes, that's a possibility, of course.
I see you like that idea, Jeter. But it wasn't suicide.
Then she did it. The murderess, the scheming, contempt.
It was murder, and it's fairly obvious who did it, Jeter.
Eh?
Marty Estelle is my guess. Well, guess again, Waldo. Estelle had $50,000 invested in Grover. He wouldn't kill a golden goose like that. And Waxnose didn't do it because he was dead, thanks to Waldo here.
That means her. She did it.
There had to be a motive and an opportunity.
Well, it was her apartment after all.
Correct, Waldo. But Grover was Jeter's adopted stepson.
Oh, like a real son he was to me. A real son.
Yeah. But did you lovely people know that in the state of California, a man can inherit from an adopted son who has money and who gets dead? Did you know that, Mr. Jeter?
Why, what do you mean?
Your inheriting Grover's $1 million would be a motive for killing him, wouldn't it?
Mr. Marlowe.
That was the motive, Jeter, and it was Waldo's job to find the opportunity to murder Grover for you.
All right, Marlowe. That'll be all for you.
Well, Waldo, the Dartmouth gun fanner, huh?
Drop that gun, Waldo.
Shut up.
I said drop it. Drop it.
Hey, that's nice shooting, Harriet.
My hand.
Well, Pop will put a little Band-Aid on for you, Waldo.
Waldo, you could have gotten into my apartment wearing that chauffeur's uniform. You could have gone in through the garage entrance and up the back way.
Sure. And when Grover let him in, he backed Grover into the room with his gun, but he shot him with yours. How much was Jeter going to pay you for this job, Waldo?
Don't talk, Waldo. He's bluffing.
You're telling me he's bluffing.
Nice kids, these college boys. Tell me, was it Dartmouth or Dannemora, Waldo?
Shut up, copper.
You killed John Arbogast to throw suspicion on Marty Estelle. Then you hired Waxnose to fake a holdup on Grover. Why? Again to throw suspicion on Marty Estelle. To make it look as though Estelle was trying to scare Grover into paying his gambling debts.
If I hired Waxnose, why would I have shot him tonight?
Because you like to kill people, Waldo. When I was brought out here tonight, Waxnose thought I was Grover in the car. He began to fake his holdup. But you just couldn't resist taking one of your snappy snapshots at Waxnose, could you, Waldo?
Shut up.
Could you? Next, Mr. Wadsworth Jeter.
Look here, Marlowe. You can't accuse me of... Doctor.
He's sick.
Call a doctor.
It's his heart. If Jeter dies, it's your fault, Marlowe.
Okay, Waldo. Tell you what I'll do, Waldo. If Jeter dies, he doesn't have to pay me my fee. We're even. Okay, Waldo? Harriet Angel, listen, go call the doctor. And while you're there, call the law, huh? Jeter didn't die. His heart was as good as mine, if you want to make anything out of that. The law had Jeter and Waldo cold, and I mean cold. Me? Well, I went out a couple of times with Harriet, as I sat home with her a couple of times drinking her scotch. It was nice, all right, but I didn't have the money or the clothes or the manners. Still, I was sorry when she went to New York to live. She had absolutely the best scotch I ever tasted. Maybe because it was free. I don't know.
Van Heflin in the original incarnation of The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, done during the summer of 1947 as a summer replacement for the Bob Hope Show, still sponsored by Pepsodent. Now let's move forward to 1948 and hear the second episode voiced by Gerald Moore. The show had moved to CBS, and that meant all of those wonderful CBS players such as Virginia Gregg and Larry Dobson would start showing up in the shows, although they work for other studios, but we tend to associate them more with CBS. Couple of things to look for in this episode: great audio quality. Also the fact that Gerald Moore is a little bit more laid back than he would eventually get, and it's only the second show of him starring as Philip Marlowe. Also, the car crash you'll hear near the end is the recording CBS used every time they needed a car crash. And the music isn't the rock'em sock'em music of Richard Orant. The great Ivan Ditmars provides the music this time. So now, CBS and 1948.
I felt low, very low, the night I set out searching for the girl with the strange hazel eyes. The fog which hung over Los Angeles didn't help, and I felt even worse when I found her, for by then I had death on my hands.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of crime fiction, comes his most famous character as CBS presents The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. And now, with Gerald Moore starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's gripping story, The Persian Slippers.
One of those thin, chilly fogs had sneaked in from the Pacific, and it hung vaguely to the streetlights along the Sunset Strip. It was a kind of a fog that you could see through, but everything was out of focus. Made you start wondering what you were going to do when you were 90 and you were all alone. I'd have liked to have spent the night in a room full of noisy extroverts playing charades. But instead, I had to eat a quick dinner and drive up into the secluded Hollywood Hills to meet a guy. A guy who had nothing but trouble on his mind. When I pushed the buzzer, I had the feeling of wishing I was someplace else. Carl Delaney himself opened the door. He was grim and brusque and to the point.
Marlowe?
That's right.
Come in, Marlowe. I appreciate this. You're coming up here after business hours, I mean. I wouldn't have asked except, perhaps I waited too long as it is. Sit down.
Thanks. Waited too long for what, Mr. Delaney?
36 hours ago, my wife disappeared. Marlowe, you've got to find her for me. Find her just as fast as you can.
Wait a minute. Disappeared, you say? Would you mind playing that part back a little slower?
Norma simply walked out that door, got in her car, and drove off to get hold of herself, as she always does when we've quarreled. And always before, she's come back in an hour or so. But this time...
This time she simply didn't come back, is that it? Look, Mr. Delaney, I could...
You'd better let me finish before you do anything. Lately, my wife has been brooding over something serious that she refused to discuss. I've caught her crying several times, and she's not a woman given to tears. Marlowe, I'm sure that unless we move fast, when we do find her, we're going to find her dead.
Suicide?
Yeah.
With his thick, blunt hand, Delaney reached for a color portrait lying face down on the table and gave it to me. I looked and saw the face of a dream. A beautiful dream with strange hazel eyes and soft black hair. I felt Delaney watching me as I glanced up in time to catch the fading end of a very ugly expression on his face. I handed the picture back to him, and he laid it on the table again, face down. Then he took me upstairs to Norma's room. It was a nice, frilly room, typically haunted by elusive, sweet smells. There was only one incongruous note. What was the horoscope doing on her desk? From the looks of the picture, I knew that Norma was attractive enough that she didn't need to look to the stars for a future. A horoscope?
Yeah, you know how women are. Marlowe, will you find her for me?
Well, I'll try. My rate is $25 a day plus expenses. And remember, you hired me to find her, not bring her back.
Fair enough. You just find her. I'll be satisfied.
I'll need a starting point. Are there any phone calls or letters or anything that might be a lead? What about friends?
We have no close friends. Norma always stayed to herself. Wait, there was a phone call yesterday from, Madame Jeanette, I think it was.
Who's that, a dressmaker?
I haven't any idea. She wanted to speak to Mrs. Delaney. I told her Norma was out, and she asked that my wife call her when she got back. That's all there was to it.
Anything else you can tell me?
No. No, it's not much to go on.
I'll see what I can do, Mr. Delaney.
I'll be here all night, Marlowe. Call me if you need anything.
I'll do that. Good night. I drove back through the persistent fog to Sunset Boulevard. Well, it was 9:30. I knew it was going to be like tracking a hummingbird through the petrified forest by the bent twigs, but I got a classified directory and I started digging. I checked the hairdressers, the manicurists, and the milliners, and I was just about to start on the interior decorators when I remembered the horoscope on Norma's desk. I quickly turned to the personal consultants. Yeah, there it was. Madame Jeanette. Her establishment, located in a dubious neighborhood south of Olvera Street, turned out to be a tacky cottage set back next to an alley. It was as dark inside as out. I was pounding on the door like a vampire at sunrise when a newsboy came up the path.
Looking for Madame Jeanette?
Yeah, you know her?
Sure, she tells fortunes. Says I've got a great career line. You want to see it?
Not right now, thanks. And I'll say for her that she's a sound sleeper.
Maybe, but not so early as this. About this time, she's always hanging around that bar on the corner. Tonight, she's throwing a farewell party in there.
Farewell party? Who for?
Herself. She's leaving town.
Oh, thanks a lot. Here, kid.
Gee, a buck. My old man will swear I've been shooting crap again.
Give me another one, Charlie. Not every night I say goodbye to my dear old neighborhood.
Muscatel again, Jeanette?
Yeah. Did I say dear old neighborhood, Charlie?
I think you did, Jeanette.
Must have had one too many then. Because of all the low, flea-bitten row of shacks I ever lived in, this is the new low.
Ah, Jeanette, that's no way to talk. You hurt my feelings.
Pinky, there ain't nothing like a little beer to soothe hurt feelings.
Yeah, you said it. Jeanette, can I have another?
Yeah. Charlie, give Pinky another. But this is his last.
The last? I thought you said it was a farewell party. Hey, you with all your dough.
This dough to get me out of this rat trap of a town, see? It's the last I want to see it of it in all my life, see?
Yeah.
Another muscatel, Charlie.
Hold on a minute, Jeanette. Hey, what'll it be, mister?
Something just a bit drier than muscatel. Say scotch?
It's on me, mister. It's my party.
Well, this is indeed a pleasure. You're the Madame Jeanette, aren't you?
Yeah, why?
You're all of 20 years younger than what I expected.
Probably the life I lead. Hey, wait a minute. Why should you be expecting anything about me? I don't know you.
Perhaps not, but I know you.
From where?
Oh, you're more famous than you think. Your reputation has spread far beyond Olvera Street. In fact, it's gone up as far as the Sunset Strip, Madame Jeanette.
No kidding.
How would you kid a fortune teller? Don't you know all, see all, and tell all?
Well...
And judging from that Spanish shawl, your Hungarian skirt, and those embroidered Persian slippers, I'm beginning to think your fame is not only local, but international.
Say, you're beginning to make me feel like I shouldn't be giving up this racket after all.
Giving up fortune telling? No.
Yeah. I'm leaving town on a midnight train. Gonna spread my talents all over the East, and I'm not coming back.
Don't tell me your crystal ball has laid a golden egg.
So to speak, yeah. I come into some lettuce. Suddenly.
That's always nice. Well, I guess it means you won't be interested in the few paltry dollars I'd intended to spend with you.
Hey, can I have another beer, Jeanette?
Shut up, Pinky Blow!
Ah, just a...
Traveling lady can always use a little extra moolah. What was it you wanted, Bud?
I'm looking for someone. Norma Delaney.
Norma I'm afraid I don't know anybody by that name.
I'm afraid you do.
What's your angle? Who are you, anyway?
I'm Philip Marlowe, private detective.
Some private dick you must be to have to resort to fortune tellers.
Come on, Jeanette. Look into your crystal muscatel. See if you can spot Norma Delaney.
I told you once. I don't know the name. Now blow.
Just a minute, Dark Eyes.
Hey, Charlie.
Yeah?
This bird's crabbing my party. What kind of a joint is this, anyway? Lady can't sit here and have a farewell party without being insulted by every jerk that drops in.
Well, mister,
I haven't finished my drink yet.
you got pockets, ain't you? Just pour a drink into one of them and take it along. You ain't finishing it here.
Charlie reached under the bar for his pick handle, so I left without pursuing the subject further. But I knew Jeanette was lying, writing a purple lipstick about Norma. I walked back to my car, lit a cigarette, and spent a few precious minutes trying to decide whether or not to break into her place and snoop. Then I caught the shadow of a figure slipping up on me from behind. I turned.
Wait, don't swing. Now, don't swing. It's only me, Pinky. I was in the bar when you was talking to the madam. That tightwad, Jeanette.
Yeah, I saw you, so?
She did something the minute you left. I figured you might like to know what it was.
That all depends.
Well, I thought it might be worth something to you, like a saw, maybe.
Come on, you. Spill it.
Wait a minute.
Spill it.
Wait.
If it's any good at all, it's worth a $5 and no more.
All right. She made a phone call.
Who to? What'd she say?
Nothing. Just some swear word in Spanish. The line was busy. But I kept my eyes open, and I got the number.
All right, let's have it. If you can still remember it.
Oh, I can remember it easy. 5 first, huh?
Here.
The number was Crenshaw, 1929. But you get it? Like the year of the big crash.
Thanks to the thirst of an underweight lush, I wasn't at the end of my rope yet. I drove as far as the nearest drugstore, dropped a nickel in the slot, and dialed. Crenshaw, the year of the big crash.
Hello?
Hello, let me speak to Norman Delaney, please.
I'm afraid you must have the wrong number.
Look, I'm trying to locate Mrs. Delaney. I suggest you help me.
How did you get this number?
From a client, Mr. Carl Delaney.
But that's impossible.
Let's stop sparring. We can save each other a lot of wear and tear if we get together and talk this over.
Maybe you're right. Yes, that sounds sensible. I'm at the Beechwood Apartments, number 4.
Check. I'll be right out. Mr. Pierre Gillum, it says here on the door.
Yes. You the man who called?
Uh-huh. Philip Marlowe.
Come in, won't you? You said you were looking for Norma Delaney, Mr. Marlowe. Tell me what's wrong. Has anything happened to her?
Well, her husband seems to think she might have killed herself, but I have a hunch that you might have something interesting to say.
No, poor kid. Poor Norma. Well, I'll tell you what I can, Marlowe, but it isn't much.
Oh, I'm all ears, and I'll sit, thanks.
I was in love with Norma once, briefly, a long time ago. She was a wonderful girl, but her husband was insanely jealous.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she hadn't loved him for years, he refused to give her up. He even threatened to kill her first.
Oh?
Norma and I realized that serious trouble lay ahead, so we parted. Good friends. And I haven't seen her or heard from her in months.
I buy it all but the last line. You have seen or heard from her, and recently.
I'm not going to argue with that. I've told you the truth. You can take it or leave it.
I leave it.
Suppose we both put our cards on the table. You lied to me when you said Carl Delaney gave you my number. I know because Madame Jeanette called me shortly after you did.
Touché. But why did she run to call you at the mention of Norma's name if you two broke up months ago? And incidentally, how did that ersatz oracle Jeanette get mixed up in this in the first place?
That is a long story, Marlowe.
Good, I like long stories. I'll bet it begins just for a lark. Norma and I went down to Olvera Street once to have our palms read.
Yes, that's exactly how it started. Madame Jeanette was an unusual woman. A character, you might say.
Uh-huh.
Well, we became friendly with her. Norma got quite sentimental about her. One day we made a sort of pact. If ever either of us was in trouble and needed the other, we'd go to Madame Jeanette or get a message to her. She would notify the other.
So when I walked in asking for Norma, the madam assumed she was in trouble.
Right. Called me immediately because she herself was leaving town in less than an hour.
I know. Well, Mr. Gillum, it's all very interesting, but it's getting me no place. Thanks. If I need you again...
No, wait, Marlowe, don't go.
Hmm?
I know a lot of details about Norma that I'm sure will be helpful. For instance, she drives a Nash Coupe, powder blue.
Powder blue coupe, huh?
Oh, and she has a fondness for white gloves. Wears them quite often.
I see. Well, I better get moving.
No, wait just a minute, Marlowe.
I've got to go.
Now, listen, Marlowe.
I told you I was in a hurry.
Now, take it easy. Stick around a while.
Get away from that door.
Well, just who do you think you are? Come busting in here, prying, asking questions, you dirty...
You asked for it, Gillum. You got a left, too, huh? So have I, brother. Left Gillum sprawled all over his coffee table, as limp as a 5-cent salad. Outside, I glanced at my watch. Madame Jeanette's train left in 40 minutes. I ran through $22 worth of red lights, getting down to a cottage because I was sure Gillum's attempted stall was tied in with the departure. but I couldn't figure out why. That is, I couldn't until I switched out my lights and coasted to a stop in front of her place. Then I saw it. Half hidden in the shadows back of the house sat a powder blue coupe. I got up on the porch close to the front door and listened. Jeanette was talking to a woman. I couldn't catch what they were saying, but one thing was certain. The woman was Norma Delaney. All at once I realized the talk had stopped. That was my cue. I shoved open the door and went in. Jeanette sat at a table alone, facing me.
Well, Mr. Marlowe, you've returned. What is it this time?
I'd like my fortune told.
Yeah? Now listen close, Gumshoe. I'll make this a short and snappy reading because I'm catching a train in 15 minutes. There's a woman very close to you. In fact, she's right behind you, sucker!
What? Go! When I finally opened my eyes again, nothing changed. It took me a long time to figure out that the lights were off and it was dark. I climbed up the table leg hand over hand and switched on a lamp. Jeanette's house was absolutely quiet. I had caught a glimpse of a white glove holding what is known as a blunt instrument just before I dozed off. And that reminded me what I was down here for. I waddled through the kitchen and out the back door, but the powder blue coupe was gone. It was 12:15. My head and the fog both had gotten a little thicker. So I just stood there, useful like a ping-pong ball in a bowling alley. It was the sound of footsteps that finally moved me, and the newsboy was back.
Well, how you again, mister? Did you ever get a hold of Madame Jeanette before she left?
Yeah, but not tight enough. Say, a blue coupe left here a few minutes ago. Did you see it?
Nope, I did. Gee, I'm sure sorry she went away. She gave me $1 tonight, too. Said she was coming into a fortune.
Hey, you and your career... Say, what's that down there, in those weeds?
I don't know. It looks like some kind of a shoe. Yeah, it is a shoe. Here, see?
What do you know? A Persian slipper. I took the slipper along as a souvenir from my scrapbook and walked back to my car, trying to fit Norma Delaney's lovely hazel eyes in with that crack on the skull. But I couldn't. Between throbs of my headache, I figured Pierre Gillum would know why Norma had dropped in on Adam so close to train time. I decided to go back and ask him. Gillum was as reliable as a two-headed quarter and just as tricky. So when I got to his apartment, I pushed the buzzer, stepped back, and braced myself. There was no fight left in it. He opened the door in his robe, fingered the mouse I'd given him, and grinned.
Oh? So you found your way out by yourself.
Uh-huh. Say, Gillum, what was so important about Norma seeing Madame Jeanette just before her train left?
I don't know.
You knew enough to try to keep me here, to delay me. Why?
Oh, Marlowe, I did that for old time's sake, for an old friend. Jeanette asked me to hold you here until midnight, and I tried my best. Obviously wasn't good enough. Well, that's all I know about it.
I see your phone is off the hook. Do you know that?
Yeah, I took it off. It's given me nothing but trouble tonight. I hereby wash my hands of this whole business. I'm going to bed. And I hope to sleep. Good night.
I envied him and left to call my client, Carl Delaney. He said he'd be in all night, but the phone kept ringing and ringing and no one answered. I suddenly got a very creepy feeling. And 20 minutes later, I pulled to a stop at that small but elegant house. The lights were on, and I saw the powder blue coupe in the garage next to Carl's big black sedan. I ran up the steps. The front door was ajar, so I went in. I found Carl Delaney in front of the fireplace, face down on the floor, dead. There was a handbag on a chair. I opened it. Compact cigarettes and a key to room 340 in the Bradford Arms Hotel. No identification. That color portrait of Norma was standing up on the table this time. And those searching hazel eyes seemed to follow me all the way to the telephone.
Lieutenant Ibarra speaking.
Bill Marlowe, Ibarra. There's a dead one at 1077 Hollycrest Road. Named Carl Delaney. Murdered.
I'll be right out.
I hung up the phone, and then the hair on my neck crawled as I heard the unmistakable sound of a woman's heels on the floor upstairs. I ducked behind a door as the heels clicked down the steps. Then she entered the room. Norma Delaney was lovely. As lovely as a picture. She moved calmly and deliberately, put a note on the table, picked up the handbag, and then turned to face the door I was hiding behind.
You can come out now, Mr. Marlowe.
Hello, Mrs. Delaney.
You can call me Norma now. And if you're thinking of using your gun, perhaps you'll be good enough to read this note first. Here.
To whom it may concern, I, Norma Delaney, purposely and with premeditation, shot and killed my husband, Carl. It is beyond me to express how deeply I hate him, and since I must pay for this and cannot endure a public spectacle, I shall take my own life within the next few minutes. Now, look, Norma, no guns.
Easy, Marlowe. I'll kill you if necessary. But it would be so pointless now. I'm free at last, and I want to spend the little time left to me in my own way.
Norma, if you listen to me...
Stay back. Tonight I made my only friend, Madame Jeanette, happy. And I killed a man who needed killing. Something good, something bad. So I'm quitting, even up.
What do you propose to do with me?
You mustn't try to stop me, Marlowe. See that closet?
Mm-hmm.
Get inside. And careful how you move your hands. Turn around to the wall. That's it. Marlowe, I'm sorry I had to hit you at Jeanette's tonight. Goodbye.
It took 3 shots to smash the lock on that closet door. I heard her driving away just as I got it open. In spite of what she'd said, I couldn't let her kill herself. I ran outside to my car. One glance under the hood was all it took. There was nothing left of the wiring but loose ends. I ran into the street and a miracle happened. The first time in my life, a taxi in Los Angeles when I wanted it.
I'm sorry, fella. I'm going to call.
Skip it. This is an emergency.
Hey, wait a minute. You
Police
can't...
business. The girl is driving up the road in a blue coupe. We got to catch her before she kills herself. Let's go.
I saw taillights just then.
Yeah? Can't you go any faster?
Not on these curves, brother. I got a wife and kids.
Okay, fella. We'll be at the top of the hill when we can get around the next bend. We should spot her then.
Yeah, you can see the whole road down the other side. Here we are, mister. This is the top.
But I don't see her. Where is she? Hey, wait a minute. Stop here. Turn up your motor. This is haywire.
I don't get it. We were gaining on her, and now she just disappears.
What's that?
Motor. That side road we passed. That's it.
You know, look!
Holy smoke.
We both saw the awful sight for just an instant. A powder blue coupe with a woman crouched over the wheel. It shot out of that side road, crashed through the guardrail, and fell end over end down into the gorge. By the time we got to the hole in the fence, the wreck was an inferno.
No use trying to get down there. The whole hillside will be on fire in another minute.
I guess she pulled over here into the side road and waited for us to go by. And we did.
Yeah. Sandy here, too. It's a wonder she didn't get stuck. What's the matter?
There's something buried here in the sand. One of her tires ran over it.
What is it?
Why, it's plenty, brother. Come on, turn that hack of yours around. Let's get off this mountain. I just found the answer to a lot of questions.
That you, Marlowe?
Yeah, Lieutenant.
We found the body and the wife's suicide note. And one of the boys spotted that fire up on the hill. What is it?
Car went off the road.
An accident? Or the suicide?
Just a little of both, Ibarra, but we'll talk later. Right now, we got to go to the Bradford Arms Hotel on the double. And please, no siren. The Bradford Arms was a 3-story walk-up. When we got there, Ibarra stationed one man in front, sent another to cover the back, and we started up the stairs. We had reached the second floor when we saw him on a landing above. Gillum. He spotted us at the same time and turned back fast.
There, Marlowe. Who's that?
That's our boy. He bar up here. Gillum, let's go.
There he goes. He's heading for the fire escape.
Second Lieutenant, he's all yours. I got business the other way.
Hey, you! Stop or I shoot!
Room 336, 38, 340. All over now. You better drop the gun. Please, it's been neat so far. Don't mess it up. Come on, beautiful. Drop it. That's better.
Well, Marlowe, I got him. I had to wing him to bring him down, but here he is. And the lady must be...
Yes, Lieutenant. The lady is Norma Delaney. The girl who wanted to kill a jealous husband and then commit suicide, but didn't want to die doing it. So she used someone else's body, Madame Jeanette's, which was a logical choice because Jeanette was blackmailing her. Thus, two vultures with one stone, leaving two lovebirds free to fly away together. Right, Norma? Didn't you give Madame Jeanette money so she'd leave town and tell everybody she was going away?
Yes, I did.
That way the body wouldn't be missed, huh?
Yeah. Isn't it pretty?
Oh, lay off, Marlowe, can't you?
Okay, Gillum, okay. Nellie Barr, I've got a sour taste in my mouth. I think I'll go home and goggle. Anything else you need?
No, I guess not, Phil. I've had all that's necessary. Wait. Just one thing. How'd you get inside this setup? How do you find out it was the dead Madame Jeanette who went over the cliff instead of the very much alive Mrs. Delaney here?
Well, Jeanette had on a pair of Persian slippers, Lieutenant. One fell off down at her cottage where Norma murdered her and put her in the trunk of the car. The other one fell off in the sand of that side road when she took Jeanette out of the trunk and propped her up behind the wheel. It was lucky, Barra. Just dumb luck. I took a walk later. A long walk. All by myself. Through that thin, empty fog in the dark, empty streets. A pair of hazel eyes and a pair of Persian slippers went round and round in my head. And for some reason I kept thinking, a pair of Persian slippers has two soles, two heels. And it's hard to tell just exactly where the one becomes the other.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, stars Gerald Moore and is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. In tonight's story, The Persian Slippers, Virginia Gregg was heard as Madame Jeanette, with Larry Dobkin as Pierre Gillum and Louis Van Rooten as Carl Delaney. The additional players were Gene Bates as Norma Delaney, Gil Stratton Jr. as the newsboy, Frank Richards as the barkeep, and Tony Barrett as Pinky. Be sure to be with us again next week at the same time when Philip Marlowe says...
Sounded good, real good. A weekend at Malibu, expenses paid with a cash bonus thrown in. But that was before I knew about the henchman, the redhead, and the corpse. These three and a white Panama hat ruined it all for me.
The big star-studded array of CBS Sunday shows starts tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top entertainment programs that make listening to your CBS station a happy habit. 1, Cabin B-13, the popular dramatic show by John Dixon Carr, renowned mystery writer. 2, the new Electric Theater, guest starring Henry Fonda tonight, and regularly starring Helen Hayes, First Lady of the Theater, when she returns from London. 3, Our Miss Brooks, the hilarious comedy success starring Eve Arden. 4, Lum and Abner, a brand new half-hour show of smiles and chuckles with the merchants of Pine Ridge. 5, Strike It Rich, the sensational quiz show with a heart to wind up the sparkling parade of entertainment. Mystery, drama, comedy, excitement tonight over most of these CBS stations. And next Sunday, the first broadcast in the new season for two of radio's greatest stars, Amos and Andy. Yes, Sunday nights are great on CBS. Check your local newspapers for program times. This is Roy Rowan speaking for CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
That's it for this week. I'm Dennis Daly. Thanks for listening. And join me for more saluting The Adventures of Philip Marlowe.